I got thrown out of a bar in New York City. Now, when I say I got thrown out of a bar, I don't mean somebody asked me to leave. And we walked to the door together and I said, bye, everybody, I gotta go. 6 bouncers hurled me out of a nightclub like.
All right, guys. This is 253 Reactions. I'm going to try something a little different. I've been doing music reactions and I've been getting copyright claims back to back to back to back every single video. I don't care. It doesn't matter how I mask it, how I do the audio, how I do the visuals. I get the copyright claims and I don't know what to do. So I'm going to try a little something different for a little while. I'll keep doing music, but I want to try some comedy and see how that works out. I don't mean to infringe on anybody's copyright, but so let's see what we have for Ron White. I got thrown out of a bar. Now I know he was part of a redneck comedy tour. Don't know much more of that than that. But anyway, let's see what we have here for Mr. Ron White. Wish me luck.
I got thrown out of a bar in New York City. Now, when I say I got thrown out of a bar, I don't mean somebody asked me to leave. And we walked to the door together and I said, bye, everybody, I gotta go. 6 bouncers hurled me out of a nightclub like I was a frisbee.
Like a
Those
frisbee.
big old bouncers that go home every night, watch Roadhouse and beat off. You know what I'm talking about? Patrick Swayze's hitting another guy. For wearing a hat. I walk into a bar with a hat on. This guy real pissy goes, took off the hat. I'm like, what's the deal? He goes, I'll tell you what the deal is. Faggots in this area wear hats. We're trying to keep them out of a club. I'm like, oh, really? The only way we could tell down south is if they have their hair cut like yours.
All right. All right, guys. He's definitely a unique character. What kind of time was this when he could smoke on stage? That's amazing. And what does he have drinking here? Is it water? Maybe some kind of liquor? This is an old school stage. So far, it's about a guy at a bar. Maybe he had a couple of drinks before he got there. Let's see where this goes.
And he got all pissed. But he walked away and I took the hat off and like an hour later I'd been drinking and I forgot. You ever forget? It happened to me. I put the hat back on. The guy comes over to me. Now, I'm between 6'1" and 6'6", depending on which convenience store I'm leaving. I weigh 235 pounds. This guy comes over to me, poking me in the shoulder with 2 fingers, says, you're out of here. I'm like, I don't think so, Scooter.
Scooter.
And I was wrong. They hurled my ass. And then they squared off with me in the parking lot, and I backed down from the fight because I don't know how many of them it would have taken to whip my ass. But I knew how many they were going to use.
Wait, what is up with these people leaving all the time? I'd get pissed off about that.
I knew how many they were going to use. It's a handy little piece of information to have right there. Overkill. Well, they called the police because we broke a chair on the way out the door and I refused to pay for it. And the cop...
We broke a chair.
Well, they called the police because we broke a chair on the way out the door and I refused to pay for it. And the cop showed up, and at that point, I had the right to remain silent.
Uh-oh.
But I didn't have the ability. The cop says, Mr. White, you are being charged with drunk in public. I was like, hi. I was drunk in a bar. They threw me into public. I don't want to be drunk in public. I want to be drunk in a goddamn bar. which is perfectly legal, arrest them.
Right?
Well, he didn't arrest them. Instead, they call in for my arrest record.
Oh boy.
There's some good news. Satellites are linking up in outer space. Computer banks at NASA are kicking on. There's a telegraph in Fritch, Texas going beep 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 beep. This part takes a while. Shorthand.
How long did it take him to come up with this bit? Seriously.
Beep.
Beep.
Now, I told you that story to tell you this story.
Seriously? That whole freaking part was just to tell another story?
When I was 17 years old, I was arrested for being drunk in public. Seemed to be a pattern.
Just a little bit.
If you knew Morse code, you would already know that. And one DWI, which was a bogus charge because it turns out they were stopping every vehicle traveling down that particular sidewalk. And that's profiling, I believe.
Profiling is illegal. They should arrest the cop.
And the drunken public charge in Fritch, the arresting officer, who I had literally known all my life. You know what I mean? This guy lived 4 doors down from me in a town of less than 400 people. We've met. He takes me to jail. When we get there, he asked me if I have any aliases, and I was just being a smart ass and said, yeah, they call me Tater Salad.
That's where this comes from? I've heard that before. Tater salad. That was one of you guys commented on one of my videos and had the handle Tater Salad. I remember that.
Tater Salad. "17 years later in New York City, I'm handcuffed on a bench with blood coming out of my nose. This cop goes, are you Ron Tater Salad White? You caught me. You caught the tater. You can take down those roadblocks now. I call my son Tater Tot. And Poot.
All right. So that was Ron White. I've heard about him through the Redneck Road. I think it was called the Redneck Comedy Tour. Comedy Tour. Yeah, I don't remember, but it was like 5 or 6 or 4 or 5 guys that would go around and tour. But that was good. Official Ron White got thrown out of a bar. Like a frisbee. All right, so that's my reaction tonight, guys. 253 reactions. If you guys are here for it, tell me what else to listen to or watch. Does he have more skits? Of course he has more, but does he has more that's worth listening to? Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Should I keep up with the comedy, or should I watch other kinds of skits? Should I just stick with the music? Let me know. Appreciate your time. Either way. See you guys next time.